collectively we've been playing this particular kind of music for over a year. This music, other people might call it experimental, but it's not really experimental at all. Um, Nowadays, I was actually thinking about it yesterday or maybe the day before. Now, if I try to experiment and find something, I'll end up with the C major scale. Okay. Uh, it won't sound strange. If I experiment now, it will not sound strange. It will sound contemporary. If I play the way I do on a daily basis, it will sound experimental. But it is not. Experiment is something you don't do every day. Then it's not an experiment. Experiment is something you do once in a while to find something new. If you do it every day, it is your natural tendency to do things like that. Like, let's say you experiment with clothing or dressing or how you want to look. If you wear the same thing every day, it might look strange to people, but to you it's your normal attire, right? So it's like that. So I will not call this music experimental. uh, from my personal side, from the guitar side, the guitar part of this music actually came about from not being able to do anything else. What I mean by that is, I actually over time lost the ability in my hands to play fast. I lost it. I had acquired good speed. Um, in music, especially in guitar playing, there's a lot of pride involved in playing fast. People like that, musicians like that. It shows that they have really worked at it, they're really capable. But over time, about 3 years back, I lost the ability in my right hand and my left hand to play fast. I couldn't do it anymore.
How? Why?
Um, that's I don't really know. It's like it was strange because one morning I woke up and I just couldn't do it anymore. And it was not because of lack of practice or because I was playing every day. I had a feeling before it went, let's say like a week before, I felt something different in my hands. Like I am not being able to play as fast. Okay, the mind still works as fast. The mind can still do all the things like it used to, but the body is not responding like that anymore. Okay, so the physical capacity of my body changed. I won't say it got lower, it changed. But when I first encountered the problem, it obviously felt like the capacity has been lowered. Now I can't play those things. I remember that day I was playing the guitar and I tried doing the usual warm up kind of thing to loosen up your fingers. Okay. And it was like a conversation between my body and the mind. My body said, "What are you doing?" My mind said, "What do you mean? This is what you do every day." My body said, "No, I have never done this in my life."
What?
Yes, that's the exact conversation. My body said, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no memory of this. What are you making me do? And I stopped. Okay, at that moment I stopped. I started to think, Jay, my mind knows this, my mind remembers this, but my body does not remember this at all. Okay. And then for around 2 to 3 months, I didn't really play as much because I was a bit devastated because previously for 7 years I'd really worked hard. I'd really worked hard because learning something, firstly I play the guitar upside down. This is a right-handed guitar. I'll play it left-handed. It's upside down. So developing a certain amount of skill when it is upside down is far more difficult. Okay, when you have it the right way. Okay, uh, if I am to hold it like this, it would have been a bit easier because the strings are placed. See, if you can see the thin strings, if I hold it the correct way, the thin strings are nearer, okay, to the fingers, and the thick strings are further away. So when you play lead guitar, especially, you're supposed to play the thin strings more, okay, to get that high sound, that screeching sound, the crying sound. So that's why, see, it's easier to hold them because it's nearer to the fingers. Your fingers don't have to go all the way here to hold them. So when I flip it all the way around, now the strings are on this side. So in order for me to get that, it's a lot more effort. So over the 7 years, I learned how to do that, and over time it became comfortable, and I could play a few things here and there. But after that happened, after the body kind of forgot its own ability, um, I it took me 2.5 months to just figure out what the body is capable of doing now, because you can't fight your way into feeling comfortable. You can never do that. And if you're playing music and something feels uncomfortable, it's not just about music, in anything, but I'll speak about music. If you feel uncomfortable doing something on your instrument, it means it has not settled in yet. You're trying to do it. You don't really understand how to do it. That's why it's not comfortable. And the only way for me to solve the problem was not to dismiss the body, but to listen to the body. Okay, because if I listen to what the body is capable of doing, how much the body is capable of doing, then I can understand from within. If I take this ability and move it in this direction, there's a better chance of something better to come about, instead of trying to play the same things that I used to play. So, from my side, from the guitar side of things, this music comes about from not being able to do certain things, being able to do only what is truly there to do for me, from my side. Because you learn so many different things when you do anything, when you do camera, when you write, or when you play music. You read so many different people, listen to so many different people, watch so many different films, and you absorb a bit from everything. Okay, and then somewhere in the midst of all the color, you tend to not. It's not you're not focusing on it. You are not entirely certain what is your core instinct. So right now, I would say this is what was always there, but I never really paid attention to it because I was too busy doing fast things, too fancy things. So that's my side of it. The genre, for now, we haven't named it, and I don't think it should be named in that sense. Then somewhere in your mind, it gets fixed. This is my sound. Okay. So that's why it's better to keep it a bit vague.
It's not just our kind of music, but generally, um, especially when you're listening to something or you're watching something you don't necessarily relate to or you're familiar with, people sort of tend to kind of tune out. So let's say we're playing something, and the kind of music we play, it's not necessarily something you can clap your hands to. There is no rhythm like that. So people might think, okay, they either think, okay, I don't really understand what it is, so it must be good. So they'll come and say, it was good, but they don't really understand it. Or they would completely, not pay attention to it at all. So it's not just the music that we play, but whenever anyone's doing something and it's not necessarily something you resonate with, something you're familiar with, you should make an effort to, again, it's not like there's no compulsion as such, but you should make an effort to sort of understand that, okay, this is something that I'm not familiar with, but it doesn't mean that it's strange, or it doesn't mean it's not good. It's just something new. No one really listens to our music. We're really okay with that, even if we don't really get something out of it. It's all right, because it's been there. Even if the people here aren't listening, something else beyond all of us is probably listening to it. So even people who know a lot about music, they would think, okay, this is what they're playing, okay, and then it just sort of ends there. Or they would talk about his guitar being headless, or why is it?
Somewhere down the line, we'll do the set and we'll look at each other. It was good set. we come down, we pack our instruments, we sit on the bench. I'm having a cigarette. Somebody comes up to me. Normally, what do you expect? It was good. What kind of genre is this? What is your name? Good guitar, bro. What guitar is this? And I'm thinking, what the fuck were you doing for so long? Okay. We did like a 40-minute set. That's the only thing you could. Yeah. No. See, here's the thing. He couldn't relate to the music. He couldn't understand the time signature. All he could understand, okay, guitar, different, ask. Okay. Do you get it? This is how people relate. When they can't find anything to relate, they relate to something which only they understand. Okay. So somebody asked us, we went to Thrissur to play a gig. Somebody asked us what we were part of a bamboo flute band or something. Do you remember? Because we are dressed like this. So they think we're going to play the drums and play the bamboo, didgeridoo, something like that. Okay. So that's the assumption. That's what people relate to. Somebody said, this is Sufi music, right? We are playing rock. There's distortion. ठीक है? She is playing an abstract, so this is Sufi music, right? Because I'm here, because I have a beard and I have a scarf. Okay. So see, this is the assumption.
The brains are telling them whatever is familiar,
that's what we do, right? Yeah, that's what we do. We see something, we have our own frame of reference, and we filter everything through that reference. We don't. Best thing to do is not assume. Even if you go back home without understanding a thing, it's better than going home without understanding something false. Okay.
All they are thinking, what is it, right?
It's better to ask someone, what is this? Okay, and actually get to know something about it. I don't think people I really don't think people go to concerts to forget. Or see, this is a thing people go to the movies to forget about their lives, right? No. They cannot forget about their lives. That's why they're going to the movies. They cannot forget about how disastrous their choices have been. And they know the movie is going to end in 3 hours. Okay? They cannot forget. You can say it's a break. Nobody forgets about how devastating their choices have been. That's the difference between jazz and that's other. When you listen to jazz and you actually forget. You actually forget. That's the difference. You forget what's happening. Your mind actually goes into a trance. Your body starts, yeah. Because you feel that energy and your body and your mind, it resonates with that. Okay. And as she said, it's not just about this music. Because people, I would say, especially because I've not been to other places. I've mostly seen India, different parts of India. In India, because I was in Varanasi once, I had my guitar with me, not this one, some other guitar. And I was in the hotel room, I was just playing. And it was the day we were supposed to check out. Okay, we were going to come back to Kolkata. And I was playing like maybe an hour before we had to check out from the room. Everything was packed, I was just playing before we had to get on a train. So the person who was in charge of making sure everything was packed, nothing was stolen from the room, that person had come in, he was checking here and there, and he saw me playing the guitar. He just stood there, he listened to a bit. And then he said, because it's Varanasi, everybody speaks Hindi. He said, iske saath gana gaate to kitna acha lagta na? And I'm there thinking, I'm playing Indian classical, what the fuck is he talking about? Okay. In India, especially to the people who don't play instruments, music means singing, lyrics, singing, lyrics. You see all these talent shows in India, singing shows. They're all singing shows. Nobody plays instrumental music there. Because the audience does not know how to relate to that. 90% of Indian population. Okay? They don't consider instruments to be music. They see background thing. Singing is important, guitar, piano, background, drums, background.
You can actually maybe write songs. We all have a kind of a language of our own, a language of the heart, the center of your being. So if you can actually articulate those sounds, which might not necessarily make any sense, and maybe put it in a song, I think that would, make more sense. it might be a nonsensical word, but if you really go within, meditate, or whatever your process is, if you go within and ask, okay, what does my heart want to say, it's definitely not going to be a word in English, because that will obviously come from your mind, or maybe something you grew up listening to. So if you can actually include sounds, nonsensical sounds, maybe it's a bit funny to actually perform that in public, whispering, some kind of primal noises, tribal, something like that. I think that would.
No, what she said, it's a good word, tribal. Let's go back to the tribal period. Okay, when people had not developed any syntactical language. We used to make noises, right? Yeah, we used to make, and we understood what it meant. Why did we understand? Because that noise evokes that energy. Do we understand what a gorilla says? No. But when it makes that sound, we can understand it's angry. Okay? That is the recognition. That is the universal language. No, I don't think we made up language to tell our brains how to function. I don't think that's true, because if that were the case, we would understand every language. How can a Westerner's brain be different from an Easterner's brain? That can't be. Okay, because the brain is human in nature. The Western white man does not have a different brain. What he puts into his daily, day-to-day thoughts and experience, that might be different. Culturally, it might be different. Biologically, it cannot be different. Biologically, if you punch a white man and if you punch an Indian man, they'll make the same noise. That is truth. That is the truth of human nature. Okay? Okay, somebody might say fuck, somebody might say hat salah. Okay? But the expression, the truth of the expression is the same.
The communications happen.
Yes,
Right.
it's just
Yeah,
because of
yes.
your culture you express it in a different syntactical form. Okay? When you touch something hot, universally we take our hands away, right?
Wherever you are.
Yes, unless you have nerve damage. Okay, yes. So that is something, I guess, is a very important part of this music, because she feels uncomfortable singing in a language. I've written a few songs, she has written a few songs. We'll record it on the phone, and then maybe 2 days later she said, I won't sing this song. I said, why? You sang it well. So no, it's not the problem with the song. I don't feel honest singing in English. And I said, what do you want to do? Make it Malayalam? She said, no, absolutely not Malayalam. Okay. So then what do you want to do? I said, maybe if I can just sing the melody of the song without the words. Okay. Maybe if I can just sing musically instead of lyrically, that would be more honest to me. And that again is a very important part of the music, that unless it is honest, it won't sound there. It will sound pretentious. It will sound like somebody is trying to make it strange. Somebody is trying to be quote unquote spiritual. Yeah. Okay. And that should not happen. That should not happen. And that's why it's very important to be boring, especially at the thing you love doing the most. The more you try to be entertaining, the closer you will be to falsehood. Okay? On one hand, we say Bollywood is ruining film culture. On the other hand, yes, without Bollywood, entertainment is not there. So, do you understand? The more you try to entertain yourselves, the more superficial you'll become. That's why we say, oh, these kids are partying every day, they're drinking every day, they're not talking about the real world problems. Real world problems are boring to talk about. You have to sit in a room and lose all your hair and wear a suit and do that till you die. It is a boring job, but it brings about actual change. But who wants to do that? Who wants to do the boring shit? People want fun. People want to have fun. Okay? And then we realize that maybe having fun is not the most important thing. But the most important things are very meditation. How interesting is meditation to somebody who's not really in that state? You see a man sitting there for 2-3 hours. Okay.
Breathing.
Yeah, just breathing.
He's focusing breathing.
Yes,
What? Does it make sense?
exactly. But the person who's actually doing it, okay, who has done this for a few years and now through the power of breath can actually attain to certain states of experience. For them it is not boring at all. It's only boring on the outside to somebody who's not connected. And it's the same with the music. Okay? There are pieces on our channel which are 20 minutes long, and it's just guitar chords. Okay, it's just guitar chords for 19 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I don't expect a single person to sit through it. I myself don't sit through it after I make it, because you need to be in that state of mind to actually understand why. We can't make a 3 minute song. We tried, we can't.
Yeah.
We thought we'll make a short song. By the time we're done, 7 minutes have passed. Okay, we didn't realize. We thought, because we are so used to playing 20 minutes. The shortest songs are around 15 minutes. 12 minutes is a limit. 12 minutes. Okay. If we go into a studio, we reduce the time. Okay, because we have to edit. Okay, editing a 20-minute track is very difficult. If you can summarize it in 9 to 10 minutes, okay, it's easier to do. Okay, it's easier to do. So those things are there. Playing live and playing in the studio, it's a bit different. Yeah. So we don't really play Western classical music like that, because it is very difficult and it's life consuming. Your whole life has to be devoted to one field of study. Western classical music is so vast. Okay, but we both really like Western classical guitar, Western classical piano playing. So this music takes influence from Western classical playing, but it is not composed. It is improvised. Western classical music is thoroughly composed. Okay, 95% is composed, and the 5% which is quote unquote improvisation, it is simply a reimagining of what the original composer did, and now the new generation can do with it within a certain guideline. Okay, so it is still composed, 100% composed, but there are interpretations. Okay, so but this music, on the other hand, it is 100% improvised, but with the mentality of composition, the exact opposite. So first she'll do it, yeah, with an effect on the synthesizer, which will sound like, how can I put it? It's like the orchestra when it plays. It has the horn section, it has the string section, the cellos and the violins. Okay, so imagine it from that perspective. Vaja? All right. Okay. So you want to talk about it?
No, I don't know what to say.
You want to say anything about it?
Yeah, I can say a couple of things. It's a bit slow paced, um, and it's just arpeggios, one note at a time. Sorry. And this to someone maybe who is, I'm not really professionally trained in this. Whatever I've learned it from him. He has helped me out with this. So it's just one note at a time, and it's seemingly very simple, but it requires um, immense attention and patience and consciousness. So even if there's like a fraction of a second where I'm not really in the moment, it ruins the whole
You can demonstrate that with the piano.
setup of the whole thing.
Just put the piano effect on.
Okay.
You can just demonstrate, what it means to play correctly and if there's a lapse in concentration. Now, if you can demonstrate this, like let's say you're not concentrating as much.
So let's say, I'm not really paying attention, I'm a bit stressed out or thinking about other things, then, the timing goes a bit off, like. Something like this, where it's very slight, maybe I don't know if you actually notice it, but this kind of music gives importance to silence a lot. So utmost silence is very important, and by that I'm not talking about, let's say, a quiet room or anything, but for me to be actually allow each and every note to ring out, give it its rightful space, and only then move on to the next one, even though I think, people are listening, they are getting bored, they are waiting, but I can't really let those things sort of impact what I'm doing here, and I have to really, really pay attention. And if I don't, then it's not perfect. Yeah.
Silence plays a lot.
It's a very important. So this is something I always need to play before I play something else. When we do play certain composed, improvised music, let's say songs with a particular effect, if I don't do this well, I can't do that well.
Personally, from my end, no. I have nothing to say at all.
Not necessarily.
It's just because there's no message. There's no message whatsoever from my end. A lot of better messengers have come by, and they've not made any impact in the world. The world continues. There's no point trying to, because it gets romanticized. Messages get romanticized, and people, they don't do anything with the message. So there's no point trying to say something like that.
While playing, you have to constantly tell yourself, let's say my hands are trembling. I have to tell my hands, this is what he also always tells me, I have to tell my hand to, okay, don't tremble, okay, be conscious, be focused, okay, this movement's not right, okay, you can't focus, I'll have to constantly speak to myself and remind myself to remain conscious, because sometimes, there is a lot of distractions in the background, and I have to constantly talk to myself while doing this, otherwise it's not possible.
And
So this music is actually, whenever I do play it, it is solely for my own purpose in that sense. If someone does listen to it and appreciate it, good, but if I don't do this well, I can't really play the other things, so, or even carry on other things in life in general. I can't really do, if I don't do this well, something doesn't really feel right.
every single thought, every single decision has to be conscious. Otherwise, you will not know what perfection looks like. The true face of perfection is impossible to experience because it is so difficult. People give up midway and they say things like the pursuit of perfection is a false pursuit, or it's the pursuit of an illusion. Okay, but that comes about because it is so difficult, not because it's impossible. It is possible, but it is incredibly difficult. Because the only way to perfect yourself is through conscious decision making. There is no other way. So basically, it's a short example. So, what I want to talk about is maybe it's hard to see how it's similar. Okay, maybe I can show you an example. Wait. You just play two arpeggios for me, beginning arpeggios. All right. Now, let's say I increase the delay and the reverb on the guitar. Okay. So let's say I try to play like her, although I don't. Let's say I try to play something like. Right? She played four notes. Then she played, let's say. Okay? So basically, this approach that she has, it's a different. There are two kinds of arpeggios in music. You understood what the arpeggio is? There's a chord, and you separate the chord, play one note at a time, it becomes an arpeggio. So there's something called jazz arpeggio, which is what basically she is doing, which is like, let's say, for example, let's say this is jazz arpeggio has to deal with shapes. Any kind of harmony or arpeggio has to deal with shapes. But let's say this is the shape, okay? Just for example, is this visible on the? Okay, so let's say this is the shape. I'm playing the fifth on the A string, the seventh on the D, the sixth on the G string, and the seventh on the A string on this guitar because it's tuned to DAD-GAD. On standard tuning, it will be B. So it's 5, 7, 6, 7. Okay, this is the shape. And if I play it like a chord, it will be like this. Okay, but if I play it like an arpeggio, it will be like same sound. I just distributed the notes. So, and if you change the time signature, okay, so that creates that kind of beauty, the different forms of beauty. And you can do it the other way around as well, which will be, okay, and you can make a song out of this, just these four notes. You can make a song out of this, right? It can. So when you do this, when you do an arpeggio, So these are the jazz arpeggios. The classical music arpeggio will be same chord. Classical music arpeggio will be like, okay, you don't do, okay, that's jazz. Classical music will be, okay. So these are the two different kinds of art. The same thing. It's just articulated differently. What is the basic difference? Mostly, the concept of legato and staccato comes in. In jazz, basically staccato is when you play a note like this. Let's say this is the phrase. Let's say these are the notes. You play it like, uh, okay, short notes. Pop, 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 pop. Legato will be continuous. You can hear the last sound when you're playing the next sound. Okay, that is legato and staccato. So, uh, uh, that's legato actually. Okay, you can hear the previous sounds. Okay, so um, two kinds of arpeggios: classical music and jazz. She does the jazz kind of arpeggio. I do the classical music kind of arpeggio because I find it more difficult to do the jazz kind of playing. Because since that problem, okay, I cannot move my hands that fast, that accurately. And this music is only about accuracy. Whether you do it in a feeling way or in a logical way, it has to be accurate. Okay. It should not feel wrong. Do you understand what I'm trying to say when I talk about accurate feeling? It should feel right. Okay. It should not feel wrong. Then it's not done accurate. You won't feel anything. If it's done wrong, you won't feel anything. If it's done right, you'll feel something. You might not want to feel that, but you'll feel it. If it's not done well, you won't feel anything. Okay? You might play all the notes correctly, but you still might not feel it. So that's the basic difference between the two music, the two approaches to the instrument. It's the same music. Like let's say, this is a major chord. It's a happy kind of chord, right? If I change one note, going into that side, yeah. So the music has to be balanced. It should have elements of happy and then bit dark and then maybe thought-provoking sadness. It's not really sad, it's more like a question. Okay? And then you can answer the question with another question, a more imposing question on top of that. Okay, so that's the dynamics of it. And let's say you have strange chords. Mysterious chords, yes. And then let's say you can have something a bit more happy, like you don't know why something profound might not succeed. You definitely don't know why something profound will succeed. That's an even bigger mystery. It's better to bank on the fact that something really good and profound will not succeed. Because that is the nature of something being profound. It's not there for everyday usage. That's why it is profound. Yeah. It's very easy to say that, if you sing like this, if you sing, you'll get a lot of people. Okay. If she starts singing and I start doing this on stage, people will listen. Okay. But if this music does succeed, I'm pretty sure it won't, but if it does succeed, okay, then I don't think it's because of us. Okay. And I definitely don't think it's because of the people. Okay. I definitely do not credit people for this being bad or this being good. Okay? It is our responsibility to make it as good as we would like to hear it. But then, when it exits the instrument, okay, it is no longer our responsibility. Okay? Then it's not up to us anymore. As long as it was in us, it was our responsibility to perfect it, to hone it to a point where we would be proud of it. What other people make of it is really not our business. It's no longer our responsibility. Okay? once we are done with a gig, there have been songs we have made the night before the gig. Okay, there have been lots of gigs like this where, the night before we are thinking, I'm gonna play chords for 30 minutes. You're gonna play this for 15 minutes. By the time we look up, people are dead. So let's do something a bit different. Okay, I'll put distortion. People will think, big thing is happening. Same thing is happening. Okay, so we have made songs the night before, and while going to the venue, we are thinking, um, I don't know how this is gonna be. We just practiced once in the morning, and last night we made the song. Okay, we just practiced it once in the morning, and we didn't even do the whole thing. We just did the parts. Okay, we just did individual parts. What was your intention behind creating it? It will only serve that if you made it well. It will only serve the intention. Do you understand? That's why things get updated. That's why things become backdated. It has served its purpose. Now something new has to come.
That's why intention is so important.
Yes, without intention, it will never have power. Intention is power. Intention and intensity. Intensity is power, right? Intensity is what we call, he has a lot of intensity. It means there's a lot of power in what he does. He is an intense speaker. So powerful. Without intention, how can you have intensity? It's not possible. Intention becomes intensity. Be so in love with music that you're willing to let something beautiful go. Okay. Because otherwise, you'll be in love with the false idea of the past, how it used to be. Okay, I want that again. If you really love music, you have to let music tell you what you should do. Okay. If you love being a musician, that's a different thing altogether. I don't really call myself a musician. If people ask me, I'll say I play music, yeah, I'm a musician, but I don't think of myself like that. I don't sit and think I'm a musician because it doesn't make any sense. I play music. I love music and I play music. And I really believe this. If music decides to leave me, no matter how much I try, it's never going to happen.
It's not relaxing at all. It is the most stressful time of the day for both of us. I don't get something right. I'm not happy with myself. I'm not happy with the fact that he's not happy with himself. We are arguing, we're fighting, we're sweating, it's hot. To somebody who it's a hobby, then I guess it's fun, it's relaxing. But because, like he said, it's a responsibility. And because it's a responsibility, when you have a responsibility, let's say towards your child or something, you don't say, oh no, it's fun to be responsible. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's painful, it's tough, it's, yeah, so it's like that, that is what it is, at least to me. It's a responsibility and it's definitely not fun. There are a lot of moments when I can say, more or less 95% perfect. I can go to bed, but no, I wouldn't do that. If you're okay with being mediocre in that sense, I guess it's okay. But yeah, the fun part is, it's not fun, it's more like a satisfaction, Okay, now I can actually sleep well and I can do other things, maybe watch TV, watch some junk on YouTube, no guilt. So, something like that. It is more about, is it objectively good? Does it cater to the objective way of the way something should be? Okay, I played this note after this one after, let's say, half a second. Is that perfect? Okay, should I have played it a bit later or a bit earlier? It's very too detailed and maybe too, scrutinizing. Maybe you can actually let it be. It doesn't really matter. It's just a fraction of a second. But more to do with the way things are. When you're in the flow and you're playing music, if you are conscious, you can attain that perfection. Yeah. It's very difficult, but it's possible. See, when you play music or when you're doing something that caters to being who you are, who you truly are, although people say being your true self, you have to be yourself, you have to find something that makes you who you are. Being your true self actually means being devoid of yourself. Devoid of self. You're not there. So only then can you actually access something beyond yourself. Otherwise, you'll always end up being someone or doing something. How do I explain this? You have to be okay with your utter irrelevance and insignificance in life, which is something very difficult for people to do. Everybody wants to be something. They want to be heard or they want to be seen. So, are you okay with accepting the fact that you are absolutely irrelevant? You have no importance to anyone on this planet, any creature, life, being, nothing. And through that insignificance, you find something beyond yourself. So, when you sit down to play music, it's not you playing music. Although, yes, I have a body, I have a mind, I'll have to do it in a way that my personal preferences do not come into play. I can't play what I want to play. I have to play what needs to be played, and what needs to be played is not, maybe it's boring or it's not interesting enough or it's not fast enough. But so to answer your question, when you sit down to play music, it's very important to keep yourself aside, all your perceptions of what you think is good, perfect. Everything should be kept aside because it's just the music. You should let the music guide you, and then you can come back.
But this is what I'm born to be. These are my ingredients. Okay, an apple cannot be sour. At least the red one can't be. If it is, it's a bad apple. Okay, a banana cannot be spicy. It might want to be. If it had enough sentience, it might say, I want to be like a chili. But it can't be. It is made of that ingredient. You know one thing God can't do? He can do everything. You know what He can't do? He can't be wrong. That's one gift we have. We can be wrong all the time. We can be wrong all the time. We can't ever be right. So that's the beauty of it. It is true. That is the only incapacity God has. He can never do anything wrong. And by that I don't mean He's some gracious figure, okay, doing all the good in the world. Okay. It's not like that. Human beings only make mistakes. They only make mistakes. We have the greatest ability in the world to learn from our mistakes. How can God learn from His mistake if He never makes one? Okay. That is our greatest gift. We lose that gift because we don't want to learn from our mistakes.
You want to not make mistakes.
Correct. We want to be God. The deepest desire man has is to be God. That is the deepest desire man has. Beyond sex. Sex is the most fundamental physical desire. The highest spiritual desire is to be God. That is man's utmost desire, to be God. It comes off as an egoic desire, as a God complex. But internally, it is his root of being. Man simply wants to become one with where he came from. In this world of ego projection, it comes off as God complex.
Last part of flip.
I found a